go down to the Red River and sail.
Irving Goffman has been called the most influential sociologist of the 20th century. He was born in Manville, Alberta in 1922, went to high school in Winnipeg, and took his first years of undergraduate study at U of M. Now Manville, Alberta, with its mostly rural population in the early 20th century, barely reaching into the hundreds, was the place where in 1907 McLuhan's grandfather James McLuhan came west to homestead with his family, including McLuhan's father Herbert.
The point is, we've had a Marxist rumor, and we've had a Freudian rumor. I mean, we've had people who are conversant with Marx without ever having read Marx, people who really understand the whole Freudian thing without having read Freud. And I think that McLuhan's contribution is that. That is, McLuhan is the best describer of the environment I think that we have in the 20th century.
McLuhan, born in Edmonton in 1911, may well have been conceived in Manville before his parents, newly married, moved to the provincial capital in late 1910. The chances of two such influential scholars, along with a future Lord Mayor of London, being associated in the same decade with a remote unincorporated hamlet on the prairies are slim to vanishing. That both McLuhan and Goffman should then have gone from there to high school and university in Winnipeg is, of course, even more unlikely.
Bow wow, bow wow, and points at a dog. That may or may not be grammar, but you wouldn't know how to make it grammar. The stupid people will always get angry at you.
And you think the more the better?
The more the better. That is to let them come out in the open.
But you think really there's that many dumb people?
I think there are very, very, very few intelligent people. I mean very few, maybe a couple of dozen. If that, that's an awful lot of people.
What, in the world?
In the world, yes.
But
That's an awful lot of people. Now,
I mean, there's more than that.
Most people are just most people are just little consumers. They're going along for the ride. They're not going to do anything. They're not going to do any perceiving. How many people are going to actually do perceiving? Some of my best students are rivals of me. People like Hugh Kenny and Walter Hahn. They not only steal everything I have, but they try to make their own personal reputations by using my approaches to it. Which is, I think, a good sign.
It's okay, isn't it?
It's a good sign.
At least they're intelligent.
They are smart enough to use my stuff, yeah. But they become rivals. They don't become disciples. They become rivals.
And do you want disciples?
I don't know.
That's power.
I'd rather have rivals.
It'd be better to have co-worker.
Yeah, that's very desirable. I've always been very fortunate in having at least a couple of people at any one time who are able to discuss problems at a pretty good level.
Did you bought, and then they used that and got something from it. What about the iron law wages? Does that relate to labor? That is another, it relates to labor, but it's another protective point. I know, but it's automatically plunged into it. Except the iron law wages, you say, why? Well, the iron law, and then I can't remember, probably nobody here has heard about the iron law wages. So there's no point in banning to people, as if everybody knows about the iron law wages. There is an encyclopedia who has got tired of nearly everything you ever knew. And doesn't want to let you have it. Well, the iron law wages, the question of the iron law wages is not a containment theory. Whereas if you'd all commodities alike, you change everything for everything else, then it doesn't matter where you enter in the system.
No, it's simply a natural factor. What I said about that natives cannot make grammatic errors is 100% true. Now, the fact that it upset them is good. I take that for granted. I want my readers to be upset all the time. This is a condition that I maintain in the classroom and that I maintain in my writing. I'm not trying to soothe anybody. I'm not trying to reassure them. I'm not trying to give them a conventional view of anything. And so I'm constantly striving to upset people. As a pedagogic technique, by the way. That is pedagogy.
It's stimulating.
Yeah, it's called dynamic. Dynamic teaching. One of the greatest artistic and literary worlds of all time. This is not what most of the writers I'm speaking about are extremely difficult. People like James Joyce, who incidentally is having a premiere tonight. I'm surprised that so many of you are avoiding it. The Portrait of the Artist is having a premiere tonight at local movie theaters. But Joyce is fitting into wake. It's one of the great world performances using all of the languages of the world simultaneously. And we live in such a great age. The Elizabethans lived in a chaotic, crazy world. The 5th century Athenians lived in a mad, this decaying and collapsing society, which led quickly to Greek tragedy, which is an account of their own misery. But the alphabet destroyed Greek society in 100 years. It was gone. The alphabet is a very destructive, fragmenting force, which the Greeks certainly did not survive. The Romans took them over in time to save something. That's preserved for us. Okay, but the effect of the alphabet on the Greeks was violent. And they gave us great institutions resulting from that misery that they went through. But they became so intensely individualistic and competitive that they destroyed themselves very quickly. The alphabet drives people toward extreme forms of egomania and competitiveness. But that is only by people who take it seriously.
Thank you.
There are very, very few people who are serious about letters or about alphabetic.
I'm glad I got to hear it. It was on Spinoza.